ever feel like you understand every single word in a sentence, but you still have no idea what it actually means? You're not alone. Today, we're uncovering the hidden meanings in English. This video is for you. Let's go.
Hey, Liam. Do you ever have the impression that some easy English expressions mean something completely different?
Yeah, and that impression is actually very common among learners.
Why do simple expressions like "I'm broke" confuse so many people?
Because the real meaning is emotional and contextual instead of literal.
So, "I'm broke" is not really about something being broken.
Not at all. It simply means the person has no money at the moment.
Wow, that already sounds different from the English most people study first.
Sure, because real conversations are full of hidden meanings that textbooks rarely explain naturally.
Is that why learners sometimes understand words but still feel lost in conversations?
Yes, because understanding isolated vocabulary is very different from understanding natural communication.
So the problem is not always vocabulary itself.
No way. The challenge is usually understanding the intention behind the phrase.
Why do native speakers use expressions like this all the time?
Because expressions make conversations faster, warmer, and more emotional.
Can you give another example that confuses learners?
Of course. A very common one is, hang in there.
That expression sounds like somebody is holding on to something.
But the real meaning is, stay strong or keep going.
Wow, that feels completely different from the words themselves.
That is exactly why learners become frustrated sometimes.
Why does this happen so often in English?
Because spoken English is built around meaning, emotion, and social connection.
So native speakers are not analyzing every single word?
No, they usually understand the message instantly as one complete idea.
Interesting. I think many students try to process every word separately.
Sure, and that habit slows comprehension during real conversations.
Can we look at another expression with a hidden meaning?
Of course. Let's look at no way.
Really? What does that actually mean?
It usually expresses surprise, disbelief, or excitement.
So, it is not really connected to the word way.
Not at all. Native speakers use it more to express surprise or disbelief than to describe an actual direction.
Interesting. And people use that expression all the time in movies.
Yes, because it sounds natural, expressive, and conversational.
Why do learners still struggle even after hearing these expressions many times?
Because many people focus too much on memorizing definitions instead of understanding situations.
That actually makes a lot more sense now.
Right, because language becomes easier when it feels connected to real life.
Can emotions really help people remember English expressions?
Absolutely. Emotional situations create stronger memory connections in the brain.
Interesting. So, learning through stories works better?
Exactly, because stories naturally combine context, emotion, and repetition.
What about "you nailed it"? Because that one always sounds strange to me.
That expression means somebody did something perfectly or correctly.
So, nobody is actually using nails?
The expression is really about success and accuracy.
Why do these phrases feel easier after hearing the emotional meaning?
Because your brain starts connecting the expression to a real human situation.
Is that how native speakers learn naturally as children?
Yes, they learn expressions through repeated experiences and conversations.
Why do learners freeze when hearing unfamiliar expressions?
Because they panic when they cannot understand every individual word immediately.
So the fear itself blocks understanding?
Yes. Anxiety reduces your ability to process meaning calmly.
Wow, that happens to me during fast conversations.
Sure. And many learners experience the same frustration.
What should people focus on instead then?
They should focus on the emotional purpose of the sentence.
Can you explain that with an example?
Yeah. If somebody says, "hang in there," the emotional goal is encouragement.
So, the situation itself explains the meaning naturally?
Exactly. The brain starts understanding the phrase through emotional context.
Why do some learners still sound too formal during conversations?
Because they often learn English mainly from textbooks and grammar exercises.
So, real spoken English is usually more relaxed?
Exactly. Natural conversations use shorter, softer, and more emotional phrases.
Can you compare formal English with natural English?
Of course. Instead of saying, "I am very tired," people often say, "I'm exhausted."
Interesting. That sounds much more alive emotionally.
Now you get it. Spoken English usually carries stronger emotional energy.
Why do learners sometimes understand teachers but not native speakers?
Because native speakers reduce sounds, connect words, and use emotional expressions naturally.
So, real English is more dynamic than classroom English?
Yeah, real conversations move emotionally and socially.
Interesting. That explains why movies sometimes feel overwhelming.
Right, because movies contain natural rhythm, reactions, and hidden meanings constantly.
What should learners do when they hear expressions they do not know?
They should observe the situation before worrying about the exact words.
So, context comes first?
Exactly. Context often reveals the emotional meaning automatically.
Does that hurt overall comprehension?
Absolutely, because they miss the bigger emotional message.
Is there a simple method people can use immediately?
Yes, I recommend focusing on situation, emotion, and context together.
How does that work in practice?
Imagine the emotional scene before trying to analyze the words themselves.
Can you show that with "hang in there"?
Of course. Picture a stressed friend receiving support during a difficult moment.
Wow, now the phrase feels natural immediately.
Exactly, because your brain connected the expression to human emotion.
Interesting. This feels completely different from traditional memorization.
Right. A big reason is that understanding grows much faster through emotional association.
Interesting. So there are patterns behind these expressions?
Yes, many expressions communicate reactions, attitudes, emotions, and social intentions.
So the words themselves are not always the most important part.
Absolutely. The emotional purpose usually carries the real meaning.
Can you explain that with another example?
Of course. When somebody says, "no way," what really matters is the surprise behind the phrase.
Wow. So understanding emotion changes everything.
That's because conversations are emotional experiences instead of vocabulary tests.
Why do learners often believe they need endless memorization then?
Because traditional learning methods sometimes overemphasize information instead of communication.
So people end up studying harder but still feeling stuck.
Yes, and that creates frustration and self-doubt over time.
Interesting. I think many learners secretly feel that way.
Sure, especially when they compare themselves to fluent speakers constantly.
And tell me, what kind of expressions should learners focus on first?
They should focus on high-frequency chunks used in daily life.
Can you give examples of those?
Sure. Phrases like, "I'm down," "my bad," "sounds good," and "give me a break" appear constantly.
Give me a break sounds funny, too.
But it usually expresses frustration or disbelief.
So expressions are strongly connected to emotional tone.
Yes, emotional tone is one of the biggest keys to understanding natural English.
Why do some learners sound robotic when speaking?
That happens because they focus too much on correctness and not enough on natural rhythm.
What makes English rhythms sound natural?
Native speakers connect ideas smoothly instead of pronouncing every word with equal force.
Wow, I think many people try too hard to sound advanced.
Exactly. And that pressure usually makes communication less fluid.
So, sounding natural is sometimes simpler than learners imagine.
Absolutely. Natural speech usually comes from comfort and repetition.
Why do some expressions completely change meaning depending on the situation?
Because communication depends heavily on emotional context and intention.
Can you show an example of that?
Sure. That's interesting can express curiosity or polite disagreement, depending on tone.
Huh, that is actually true in many languages too.
And emotional communication exists everywhere.
So learners should pay attention to voice and reactions too.
Absolutely. Body language and tone reveal hidden meaning constantly.
What should learners do when they hear a new expression for the first time?
They should stay calm and observe the emotional situation carefully.
So understanding every word immediately is not necessary.
Sure, many native speakers also infer meaning gradually from context.
Really? Even native speakers do that sometimes?
Of course, language understanding is often contextual and flexible.
Why do some people improve faster after consuming more natural content?
Because repeated exposure strengthens recognition of emotional and conversational patterns.
So, watching interviews and conversations helps more than isolated study sometimes.
Absolutely. Real interaction teaches rhythm, reactions, and hidden meanings naturally.
What happens when learners finally stop translating everything mentally?
Conversations begin feeling smoother, lighter, and more intuitive.
Wow, that sounds like the breakthrough everybody wants.
Exactly, because the brain finally processes meaning directly instead of indirectly.
Is that the moment English starts feeling natural?
Yes, that is when learners begin reacting emotionally instead of analytically.
Interesting. So, natural understanding is really emotional understanding.
Exactly. Emotions guide communication more than many learners realize.
Why are emotional reactions easier to remember than isolated vocabulary?
Because the brain stores emotional experiences more strongly.
So, memorable situations create stronger language memories?
Yeah, that is why stories and conversations are so effective.
What is the best way to continue improving after this?
Listen to natural English daily and notice how people emotionally react during conversations.
So, hidden meanings are everywhere in spoken English?
Yes, and now you will probably start noticing them constantly.
Interesting. That sounds exciting, actually.
Exactly, because every conversation becomes a learning opportunity.
What should viewers do next if they want to sound more natural?
They should practice speaking without translating and focus on communicating ideas confidently.
Wow, that is such an encouraging way to see language learning.
That's because fluency is a journey of connection, not perfection.
And what are we talking about in the next video?
In the next video, I'll show you 5 daily phrases that instantly make your English sound more advanced. See you there.
Bye!